Okay, hello again. This is going to be a mini lecture about good country people. This one will be a little shorter than good man is hard to find, but I want to just kind of go over some key points. Okay, so one of the big one is what's Helga's flaw, and like the grandmother, we could make a list of her flaws, and it's a little different than the grandmother's. So she's arrogant, very condescending. She believes she's superior, both just as a person and intellectually, and she sees others' religious views as naive or even dumb, and she seems to be kind of angry. Okay, but it's really clear that her major flaw is how she her major flaw is, well, I gotta go back, I screwed up. Her major flaw is, all right, we have to take a dog break here for a second. Are you done? Not yet. That's Lily and Jake barking in the background. It's something out the window. I forgot to lock them up. Nice pause for you to think about all the amazing things I've just said. So, appears the crisis is over, I hope. So, it's very clear that her major flaw is how she perceives herself, smarter than all those around her. What she, that good country people is really used in a sarcastic way here, okay? It kind of equates to good country people are simple, naive, gullible, ignorant, unsophisticated. So that's kind of how that's being used. It's kind of a stereotype, okay? Well, let me do this. I forgot to do this too. Sorry about this. Not going well. I'm still kind of new at all this, making all these videos. Names in this story are very important. And probably they're about as symbolic as anything. Just the name Helga, it's an ugly name that reflects the way she views herself, probably more associated with her missing leg than her actual appearance. And if you contrast this with her real name, Joy, it's a stark difference. They're almost exact opposites. And if you add her last name, Hopewell, and I mean, that's what a name, Hopewell. What could be more positive than that? It's cheery, positive. So Joy Hopewell, boy, if you take those two names and put them together, it sounds like it should be some female country western singer or gospel singer. Joy Hopewell, man. Mrs. Hopewell. Well, Mrs. Hopewell certainly she consistently hopes well. She's very optimistic and always trying to see the best in everyone she meets. And I would say I think she's kind of a saint. Anybody that would tolerate Helga's behavior and attitude, you got to say a lot about somebody like that. She assumes Manly Pointer, the Bible salesman, must be good country people just because he sells Bibles. Keep in mind, in all the good stories we've read, the word good has numerous religious connotations. So that's something to kind of think about as you move forward with this project. Manly Pointer, man, I'm not going to spell this out for you. It's one of those NSFW things, and I think you can figure this one out, especially when it becomes clear that this guy's quite a pervert. Seems Miss O'Connor has a naughty side. You see a picture of her and she just looks so demure and nice, but she created Manly Pointer. Okay, so of course it's appropriate that a Bible salesman is the one who brings Helga to her moment of grace, just because of all the assumptions about a guy that sells Bibles. Okay, just real quick, Mrs. Freeman and her lovely daughters. When you read the story, boy, Mrs. Freeman is basically kind of the hired help. It's almost like she kind of talks to her like even though she's very optimistic and positive about her, there's kind of a tone that she's kind of a servant. Okay, she says they're a godsend to her and how she had them for 4 years. Had them is kind of not like I hired them and they worked for me. She had them. So maybe I'm reading a little too much into it, but there you go. The reason her keeping so long is they were not trash. They were good country people. Well, when you get the description of the daughters, especially, they might be kind of trash. Okay, so Mrs. Freeman's daughters, which just have crazy names. Okay, Glenice and Caramay. Joy called them Glycerin and Caramel. Joy, she didn't like anybody. Glenise, the redhead, was 18 and had many admirers. Caramay, a blonde, was only 15, but already married and pregnant. Good country people, for sure. Okay. So here's just a few more things to consider when you revisit this story. It seems to me that Holga kind of has arrested development. Although she's academically accomplished, she lives her life like a little girl. She's totally dependent on her mother. She does nothing really besides hang out in the house, except when she sneaks out with Manly Pointer. Even the way she dresses is childlike. Um, uh, Here she went about all day in a 6-year-old skirt and a yellow sweatshirt with a faded cowboy on a horse embossed on it. She thought it was funny. Mrs. Hopewell thought it was idiotic and showed simply that she was still a child. So here's a few more things to consider. Let's talk about Holga's moment of grace. Like her mother, Holga not only assumes Manly Pointer is a Christian and good country people, she also believes he's ignorant or naive. She makes it her mission to show how hypocritical these good country people are when she plots to seduce poor old Manly Pointer. Of course, the irony of this story is that Manly Pointer brings Holga face to face with her major flaw. It's kind of her unwavering faith in her superiority to these simple, good country people. The tables are turned. This is the moment of grace. Now, we don't know if she, this story is kind of like Good People in a way. We don't know if she changes, but she knows that she comes face to face. She met her match in Manly Pointer. This guy outsmarted her. This guy was a guy that he even says, I travel around the countryside. I look for women that have prosthetics. I think he even says he stole one woman's glass eye, and then he seduced poor Olga's leg right off her. He had his Bible full of whiskey and naked lady cards and all kinds of stuff like that. Here this guy turns out to be nothing like he portrays himself. He outsmarts Holga. He's superior to Holga by getting her leg. And so this is her moment of grace. But again, we don't really know what she does about this. In good country, in a good man's hard to find. I mean, the grandmother dies, so we have closure there. But this one is kind of like, well, because once you meet that moment of grace or you come face to face with it, what really matters is do you change? Well, we don't know if Holga changes or not. So, but this is kind of how I imagine the end of the story. Okay, I imagine Holga hopping on one leg across her pasture, trying to figure out how she's going to explain the missing leg, because that's a pretty humiliating experience. Is she going to go back and say, "Oh, that Bible salesman turned out to be a pervert and he stole my leg, and boy, he sure suckered me in on this one." But I also wonder how the heck did she climb out of that loft? I'd kind of like to see that. Maybe somebody will make the movie one day. So that's all I've got to say about this. I will also post just the PowerPoint itself in Blackboard and the lecture, so you can refer back to these as you're working on this project.